See, let's continue in that thinking a little bit. God is no respecter of persons. He'll bless you, he'll bless me. Vice versa. Doesn't matter. If any of you became millionaires overnight, I'll get in trouble for saying this. I expect a donation, okay? If any of you became millionaires overnight, the reason that only Peter got the blessing is because he stepped out. See, as the Israelites are headed at the border of the Promised Land, the other 10 spies, other than Joshua and Caleb, could have they could have walked into the miraculous along with Joshua and Caleb, who was gifted of God because of their faithfulness. But instead, they refused. The enemy's too big. They got fearful and they lost out, and all of their descendants lost out. They got stressed out. They got anxious. I've asked God, and he hasn't done it. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, I will do it immediately or on your time frame or with any time qualification at all. God doesn't operate in time. He says, I will do it, and that should end it. But again, it's easy to give it to him, but not so easy to leave it there. It's easy to go to the altar and say, God, it's yours. But if he doesn't respond right away, we get anxious and stressed. And we begin to get, we've got to do something. Give it to God and leave it. I loved a lady that came to my church a while back. And I would preach on that. You bring it to the altar. You bring your children to the altar and you leave them there. And she would come up to me every single time that I talked about that. And she would say, I've often given my children to God, but boy, it's really hard for me to leave them there. Sometimes it takes God months just to fix what I've messed up. So did Peter mess up? Even though Jesus walked on the water, the waves didn't stop. Did you hear me? Even though Jesus walked on the water, the waves didn't stop. They continued to rage against the boat. Peter walked on the water, but the waves didn't stop. The storm didn't end. Peter failed. He sunk. But Jesus didn't give Peter a chance to have an anxiety attack. Peter cried out and Jesus picked him up. Oh, ye of little faith, why did you doubt? When they made it to the boat, then the waves stopped. Peter had only one way to get back to the boat unless Jesus carried him. Peter walked back to the boat. Had you ever thought about that? Peter walked back to the boat. So yes, he did. But God still had him in the miraculous unless Jesus picked him up and carried him. And I just somehow doubt that. Stick with that thought. More next time.